What is up, Guardians? Renegades is just around the corner, and with the new expansion will obviously come huge changes to the PvE sandbox. Bungie has obviously dropped article after article detailing the subclass, weapon, armor, and other changes coming to the game already. But rest assured, if you want to run your builds that have already been performing well, such as Controversial Warlock, Tempest Strike Hunter, or Bonk Titan, they will absolutely still be top tier in Renegades. But there's no better time to experiment and try new things than the launch of an expansion. So here are 3 newly minted or buffed builds to carry you through the Renegades Legendary campaign. Our first build is going to be a Lightning Surge Warlock build on Arc. Our preferred super is going to be whatever you choose to use. I'm going to take Storm Trance just because I like the uptime. Chaos Rage is just as equally valid depending on what you would like to use. Healing Rift is my preferred Rift because Arc doesn't have a ton of intrinsic healing, so just having a Healing Rift gives you a little bit extra insurance. Chain Lightning is the faster melee, so I've opted to take that with this build. And then for grenades, I am taking Flashbang. Has high uptime, is able to blind enemies so they can't shoot back at you. It just gives you a little bit of a safety net while you're going around trying to slide into other enemies. Electrostatic Mind is our first aspect, which is going to generate Ionic Traces and make you amplified as you pick up those Ionic Traces. And Lightning Surge is our final aspect, which is a slide melee, which is obviously a very powerful melee option, on top of giving you Bolt Charge integration and jolting enemies that you hit. For our fragments, Discharge is going to be our first pick here to generate more Bolt Charge stacks, letting you pick up Ionic Traces and get Bolt Charge for that. Recharge will give you some extra cooldown speed for your grenades and melee whenever your shields break until they are fully healed, which can be quite often, especially in harder content. Frequency to increase the rate that you generate Bolt Charge as long as you are amplified. And then Resistance for damage resist, since you'll be in melee range and surrounded very often. The exotic armor is very important to this build, and we're going to be taking Winter's Guile to try and take advantage of the new Warlord's Rage rework. Winter's Guile will now stack up to 10 stacks, and will provide a 400% melee damage bonus at 10 stacks. Melee kills will give 1 stack, and finishers will provide 3. Each stack lasts for 4.5 seconds, and will decay 1 at a time. Once you have 10 stacks, you will gain a melee charge, and you then have 10 seconds to activate Warlord's Rage by using a melee. Once activated, Warlord's Rage will provide the following benefits. It will dramatically increase your melee regen speed, you will get a faster melee speed, melee damage bonus will be increased to 500%, and it will last for 10 seconds, at which point you will lose all stacks of your buff. This is an interesting shakeup on Worm God's or Syntho's damage buff, and it should work well on Prismatic, Solar, or even Void Warlock, but I wanted to take advantage of things like Bolt Charge, Flashbangs, and Ionic Traces on Arc. For stats, I wanted to focus on melee first, and then round out Super, Grenade, and Class somewhat evenly to maximize your Ionic Trace value. For my particular stat spread, with fonts, I will have 187 melee, 97 Grenade, 118 Super, and 55 Class. For mods, round out your stats as best you can, and I'm running a Siphon for my primary, Special Ammo Finder, and Hands-On in the helmet. Heavy-handed for orbs with 2 melee fonts in the arms, Resist and a health font for fun in the chest, a Scavenger, Invigoration, and Stacks on Stacks in the boots. Finally, the class item has Outreach, Class Font, and Time Dilation to squeeze just a bit more value from our fonts. Weapons are not the focus of the build, however I would recommend a 1-2 punch weapon first and foremost. I am taking Photonutria Fera for 1-2 punch. It is a lower damage value than a full shotgun would give, but with the uptime of primary ammo, I find it evens out in the long run. With Izanagi's here for long-range enemies and some burst damage, as well as a chill inhibitor for boss damage. There is an opportunity here to slot a glaive in the build, such as Rake Angle, since Winter's Guile should stack with glaive melee kills, and then once maxed, you should be able to switch weapons to Lightning Surge to activate Warlord's Rage. Our second build is going to be a Void Titan Grenade build. We're going to start with Twilight Arsenal, which is just a great super all around for boss damage and ad clear. You can opt to switch your super to Ward of Dawn if you want more uptime for overshields, or a Sentinel Shield if you're going to tank for a boss. Take your preferred Barricade and Melee. For Grenade, the base cooldown of your grenade is very important to make the most out of Armamentarium's Grenade Regen and Demolitionist. For that reason, I wanted to take a faster cooldown grenade that delivers a strong payload, which I think Scatter Grenade fills in nicely. Vortex is a great pick, but I feel like there's more room for uptime on Scatter Grenade. For aspects, we are taking Offensive Bulwark, which will provide a huge increase to grenade cooldown speed while you have a Void Overshield, and will increase melee damage as a bonus. Controlled Demolition double dips on healing, providing a nice burst of healing whenever a volatile enemy explodes, as well as making all abilities apply volatile, and volatile explosions will also spread more volatile. Fragments start with Exchange, which provides grenade energy for melee kills. Since I'm planning to take a glaive with this build, this synergizes with glaive melee to dip into more grenade energy, but will also work with defensive bulwarks buff for unpowered melees. If you choose to take a different weapon setup, this can be swapped at your discretion to Cessation for Void Breaches, Expulsion for more AoE, or Vigilance for more Overshield. Starvation is an obvious pick, giving us Devour for sustained healing, and more importantly, dipping into more grenade regen. Undermining will be buffed to only -10 grenade instead of -20, and will apply Weaken on grenade hit for 15% more damage. Persistence is another great pick and will round out our fragment selection. It will extend the duration of Devour and Void Overshields and make it easier to chain their effects. Our exotic armor pairing is obviously Armamentarium here, which is getting a nice buff in Renegades. With the exotic equipped, we will have a second grenade charge, a built-in firepower mod to make an orb on grenade kills, and the new effects from the buff being grenade energy on weapon kill, and refilling your equipped weapon's magazine on grenade throw, basically being a built-in demolitionist perk. This will allow any weapon to function as a demolitionist weapon, and any weapon that has demolitionist should double dip. Paired with Devour, this should lead to extremely high grenade energy per kill. For our stats and armor mods, I recommend taking your grenade stat as high as you can for recharge and damage, then splitting the rest between weapons and super. The helmet should have a siphon, special ammo finder, and ashes to assets. Arms should have grenade fonts and firepower. Chest should have resist and harmonic ammo generation. The legs should have innervation, void weapon surge, and stacks on stacks or a second surge mod. Finally, your class item should have time dilation, bomber, class font, or reaper. For weapons, let's talk about the exotic first. I want to take the edge of action here, which is my favorite exotic glaive. Glaives provide smooth melee options, decent range damage, and good defenses with the glaive block, and the exotic perk charges the alternate fire. After 6 hits of melee or ranged damage, you can activate the alt fire to shoot a miniature Ward of Dawn that deploys on impact. You can enter this bubble to gain a Void Overshield, bonus damage, reload speed, and handling for several seconds, and the bubble will remain on the field for about 15 seconds. This will combine with Offensive Bulwark to give you that grenade energy regeneration. On top of that, the weapon has intrinsic destabilizing rounds, so any ranged kill will provide a volatile explosion and provide a few seconds of volatile rounds, giving some anti-barrier capabilities and playing into controlled demolition for more spread damage and more healing. Picking a demolitionist hand cannon and machine gun with this loadout to have some double dipping for grenade regen, and as my preferred archetypes. Hopefully you'll have a lot of uptime on your glaive with all the grenade energy you're generating, but the weapons will work nicely when the glaive is impractical. Finally, let's talk Nighthawk Solar Hunter. It is no secret that Nighthawk is getting some big buffs next season. Steel Hunt will do 40% more damage with Nighthawk, and Golden Gun is getting some bonus Scorch and damage. To boot, Solar Hunter in general is getting some nice touch-ups, and On Your Mark has received several changes that I now think committing to a weapon build is both interesting and viable. Let's start with the subclass. Marksman Golden Gun is required for this build. With Nighthawk, you'll be able to fire one big headshot for a nice chunk of damage. Acrobat's Dodge is my pick for this build with the new buff that reduces the cooldown down to Gambler's Dodge timing. I'm interested in working into the build for our Radiant Source, which will improve weapon and Nighthawk damage. If you don't want to take this dodge, I would recommend just taking Gambler's Dodge. Melee is Knife Trick, as it is the only melee that intrinsically applies Scorch to enemies. This will serve multiple purposes, including starting Scorch stacks, finishing off an ignition, and reducing our dodge cooldown. For Grenade, I think you should experiment with options other than Healing Grenade here. My pick is going to be Incendiary Grenade, which applies very heavy Scorch stacks and has a fast cooldown. But my alternate options would be either Swarm Grenade or Fusion Grenade, as they both serve a similar purpose. For our spicy section aspects and fragments, we are taking Gunpowder Gamble, which is getting buffed very strongly to deal 50% more damage, have a larger radius, and deploy extra explosive submunitions if you shoot it out of the air. Gunpowder Gamble was already a very strong ability since it charges on kills and deals very high damage thanks to being an ignition. It also scales damage with grenade boosts, so you can double dip to buff Incendiary Grenade. On Your Mark has also had several buffs, so if you are not up to date, here is the current way that it works. Using your class ability or landing headshots grants a stack of On Your Mark for a 12-second duration. Hand cannon headshots or headshot kills will give 2 stacks, and it can stack up to 10 stacks. Additional instances after that would refresh the duration of the buff. For each stack of On Your Mark, you get +5 weapon stat, extra reload speed, and a reload duration multiplier. At max stacks, you will have +50 weapon stat. Additionally, while you are at 10 stacks, every kill will give you Cure ×1, which will instantly heal 60 HP with a 1-second internal cooldown. We are going to get 5 fragments with this setup, so I want to build into the Gunpowder Gamble and Acrobat's Dodge. For Gunpowder Gamble, we are taking Ember of Char, so our ignitions will spread Scorch, Eruption for a 25% larger ignition AoE, which should stack with the buffed 50% on your air shot of GPG, Ashes to apply more Scorch stacks, Singeing for a 400% faster dodge cooldown when applying Scorch for a couple of seconds, and Searing, which will pull double duty, providing melee energy on killing Scorch targets, and creating Fire Sprites, which will provide more grenade energy on top of that. Our exotic armor is obviously Nighthawk, which will work with our subclass and weapon choice. The main effect is to convert Marksman Golden Gun into a one-off super that deals about 80% more damage than the normal Golden Gun in a single shot. If you get a kill with this special shot, you'll be refunded 33% of your super bar, and cause the target to explode for some extra splash damage. Additionally, on precision kills, you get extra super energy based on the enemy killed. This should work great with On Your Mark, and doubles down on going for headshots. For your stats, I want a roughly equal stat spread between super, weapons, and grenade with a little bit of class. On Your Mark will give you 50 weapon stat, so you can let it fall just a bit behind to get some more grenade and super damage and for your cooldowns. I have grenade as the highest due to the uptime of Gunpowder Gamble, with super just behind that. Mod-wise, your helmet should have a siphon, a super font, and ashes to assets. Arms should have grenade fonts and firepower. Your chest should have resist mods and any ammo generation that you need. Legs, I recommend a Solar Surge and Scavenger, and then either a stack on stack or a second surge. Finally, your class item should have a class font and time dilation. Then I would recommend a Bomber or Outreach depending on your preference for some more ability energy. As for weapons, this is going to be a very heavy weapon build, so our exotic is going to be Still Hunt. This solar sniper rifle charges a super bar on orb pickup or headshot hits, and once full, can activate an alternate fire Golden Gun mode. This functions identically to regular Golden Gun, including ramping damage on successive hits, and with Nighthawk is converted to a single higher damage shot. Post buff, this will do 40% more damage than it does currently, so it should deal about 43% more damage than the regular version of the Golden Gun mode. You will likely be charging the Golden Gun mode by headshotting adds and majors, which will die pretty quickly, so you will get some extra benefits for charging your regular Nighthawk and On Your Mark at the same time. It's just such an obvious pairing, and with the buff, it's more appealing to try using in normal content and not just during boss encounters. It's not going to actively build into Solar 3.0 effects unless the Golden Gun Scorch buff extends to this weapon's Golden Gun mode, but the raw damage output and extra ammo from the weapon stat should fuel this combo pretty well. For heavy weapons, I would recommend a Solar weapon with Burning Ambition, or at worst Incandescent for general use. Ideally, a machine gun, because that can headshot to maintain your On Your Mark stacks, and then something as a backup with Envious Arsenal for general use such as Heathen's Vengeance. Your kinetic slot primary can be whatever you're comfortable with. I would use a hand cannon personally, as I'm confident in hitting headshots consistently with them. Shoot Loot is a good pick here since the build will be at range, but something like Fatebringer with double damage perks would also be great since you're going to have built-in reload buffs. If you wanted to replace Still Hunt in this loadout, you could consider Izanagi's Burden with a Solar primary with Burning Ambition. This would let you build into the chain ignition explosions a bit more, as long as they tag and don't kill the enemies outright. Izzy will now benefit from the reload buffs as well, so it's also going to be an interesting pick in Renegades. So there you have it. 3 new builds to try in Renegades that are going to take advantage of new buffs and opportunities. I think these will shake up your campaign playthrough and be viable even post-campaign. So let me know if you end up trying any of these builds and what you think of them. If you have any Renegades builds to share for yourself, go ahead and drop it in the comments down below. Please feel free to subscribe for more in the future, and I will see you all again very, very soon.